As we sit here tonight, we call upon the sacred light of Source, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. We call upon our spirit guides, angels, ascended masters, light beings and galactic guides, our ancestors, nature spirits and animal guides. We invite in Archangel Michael, Naisimha, and Hanuman to protect us, as well as the energy of Phi, the sacred spider, to weave its web of geometry around the space for protection. We call upon Ganesh to open the path, and we call upon Thoth. We ask Thoth that you allow us to open the gates to the Akashic records. We also invite in Mary Magdalene to bless us with your presence, divine feminine healing in the heart. Spirit guides, as we sit here tonight, we ask that you connect us with our heart chakras for the collective and also for ourselves. We ask that you activate healing in this chakra, cleansing and clearing anything that needs to leave and bringing in divine light and love. And anything else we need to know on this journey tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with that, the sacred circle is now open. Namaste.
Spirit's showing me it's almost like I'm looking through a kaleidoscope. I can almost have the feeling of having the kaleidoscope pressed against my right eye. And it like slowly turns, but it's in these sorts of like pastel colors, like pastel green, pastel yellow, pink, blue. And it's abstract, but it's kind of like the colors within themselves are moving. So it's like this abstract, moving, swirling design. And as it's being turned, I can hear also like a rattle. And I don't know if it's something within the kaleidoscope that's being turned, or I can hear almost like the rattles of you're hearing like ceremonies with the drumming. It's interesting. As I look through the kaleidoscope, I feel like I'm very aware I can only see out of one eye. That's all for now. I know I said that was all for now, but but it isn't. After I said that, I feel like I'm seeing out of my right eye, but I heard in my left ear. If it was an answer to my question, then I felt like, well, why do I feel so feel like I so consciously can only see out of one eye. And the answer, and it was vaguely male, was that we're only using one chamber of our hearts, was the answer I got. And that's all. I'm going to sit with it and see who's saying this. And
And as you said that, I saw a heart beating and it was taking me to the word flowing. I'm just seeing various types of liquid flowing through chambers. And a feeling of warmth with the flow. There's various colors. The flow is very important. That's it for now.
So I'm in this chamber of a pyramid that I've been here quite a few times recently. And even in the last journey we did, if anyone was here, for the journey with Mary Magdalene, I was also in this chamber and I'm here again with her as well. And it's funny because the chamber in this pyramid, it looks bigger, actually. It feels a little bit bigger than it did last time. And so everything is stone or concrete, and there's this pool of water. And it's funny because in this journey, it's actually like everything, the whole room is elongated from all the other times I've been here. And I'm in the pool of water, and normally when I get into water or healing or cleansing like this, it's cold water or cool water at least. But this time, as soon as I started to open, I was hearing bubbles, and I started to see the water in the pool, and it's really, really hot water, almost too hot for someone to be in. And I'm lying down in this water. My head is out of the water and like a little bit of my shoulders. And I'm having almost like a panic attack in the water. And I'm having trouble breathing. And everything is bubbling. It's almost like a jacuzzi, but like really hot. And Mary Magdalene is bent over me and she just has her hands above my chest and she's just saying, you got to stay in, you got to stay in, you cannot get out. And actually, now that I think about it, this reminds me of a temazcal. I don't know if anyone's done a temazcal. It's very popular here in South America, but it's basically like a sweat lodge. You go in and it's super hot and they keep a fire burning, and a lot of times they do not let you out until it's finished. And there's a purpose to it. It sounds a little bit like, really, you're not going to let me out? But the purpose is the healing, and that's what she's saying to me here. She's like, she kind of like in the beginning, she pushed me back in and she's like, nope, you're staying here. So, but there's also, I can tell there's some kind of, I don't know if it's metal or like some kind of bar, like rectangular thick bar that's above my head. I don't quite know what the purpose of it is yet, but I can see it. And there's also fish in the water, and they're swimming all around me. And they're pretty large fish. I don't know exactly. Well, Spirit is telling me it's a piranha. A little scary. They don't seem to be bothering me at all, but I just noticed them swimming all around. And Mary has a few assistants with her as well. One of them actually feels like my Reiki assistant. And the one man that I'm seeing, he's maybe 6 feet tall, very thin, and has a turban on his head. And he's bringing her things. He just brought her this like amulet filled with gold, actually. It's like this little jar, and she opened it and she put it in the water with me. He brought it to her in a coconut shell. I don't know why that's important, but it is. But yeah, that's all for now. I'll sit with it and see what else they want to share with me.
I also feel the heat that you were talking about, Michelle, and it's almost like the heat is connected to the water, because when you were talking about seeing the heart, I was almost seeing as if there was like water flowing through the hearts, but like it was flowing through rivers, or um like a aqueduct or something. Like it went from a river into, I guess an aqueduct would be the right word, though it was more like of an artificial way to get water into something. And I feel like it may have been a water source that was used in the pyramid there. I'm not sure how everything goes together yet. I'm going to sit with it, but I just wanted to share the heat and water connection. That's all for now.
The word chambers keep coming up. I know I used it, and then Jacqueline, you used it in various ways. But now I keep hearing it, so there feels like chambers are important in the variety of ways they can be utilized. That's all for now.
I'm feeling a connection to the chambers, and like the water and the fire that's heating the water here. And I feel like in a sense, like it's like this sort of, like the pyramid itself is almost like beating like a heart, but that whatever energy was here was then dispersed into the four corners of the world, which I know that is something. I don't necessarily know the information behind it, but I'm getting a sense of like a bird, like four birds leaving this place and going to different areas in the world, but they're flying like like if you were to look at the direction senses, like one is going like northeast, northwest, southwest, southeast from where this pyramid is. It's almost like I see a map and then I see the dotted line with the like the trajectory that the bird is going on. There's 4 birds, so one of them is white, but I don't know what the other ones are. That's all for now.
Hi, I'm hearing the song All You Need to Love Is by the Beatles strings in my head. That's all for now.
You know, it's really funny. As soon as you said that, I saw, so George Harrison is one of my spirit guides, and I saw him immediately in front of me holding a baby and like rocking it to the song and singing the song. And I was actually starting to see, I don't remember if it was um, you also, Sophia, who said this earlier, but someone said something about the chambers, that they resonate with the chambers. And all of a sudden, I was seeing a heart, and one of my spirit guides, Eric, he is always with a motorcycle, and he was on his motorcycle on top of this heart. And he's like, let me show you around. And so he like rode his motorcycle around part of the heart, and he's like, this is the big part. They're always funny with me. And then he took me to like these smaller little chambers, and he said, don't be so concerned with the big part. You got to go to the small parts and see what's inside each one. And all of a sudden, he went down like one of the parts, and there a door appeared, and it opened, and I saw someone from my life just and how they were really a little bit angry with me today, and just shouting and shouting, and I'm just seeing like this energy coming out, and like this really bright white energy behind them, and I can feel the releasing. But spirit's asking like us to go into like the smaller little areas of our hearts and to open the doors and to let that energy out.
to not only let it out, but to release the blockages. There's blockages that need some clearing.
Mhm.
I want to say the clearing is individualized to become whole. And that we shouldn't be afraid to find the blockages. And it's not fixing them, it's not mending them, it's healing them whole again. That's all for now.
You know, something else I find interesting, as I was in the pool of water that was really hot, and Mary was kind of saying to me, like, stay, like, you have to stay in the water, is two things, you know, just to breathe through it and to just allow ourselves to feel really deeply. Even if we're feeling like, oh my God, I need to get out, you know, it's too hot, or I can't handle it, or whatever it may be. Just to breathe and know, surrender, and know that when we can actually feel these things deeply, that's the point where we release it. And the second thing I find curious is that, like I said, it really reminds me of this Temescal that they use here. And usually the Temescals are built in the form of a teepee. And I'm in a pyramid now. So I think there's something also about this triangular shape. That's all for now.
This image of like floating on water kind of reminds me a while ago I was trying to learn how to swim, just because like my whole life I've never known how to swim, but I was dating someone who was like very ardently trying to explain how easy it was, and I was trying to float because that's like the first step to swimming, and I was not in line with my breath at all. Was kind of like trying really hard to stay up, but then he was like, you know, you just need to breathe through it and your body will naturally have like a buoy system that will prevent you from sinking. And that just kind of reminds me of that, like kind of turning off the like left brain all the time, because sometimes it like makes up like anxious scenarios of like you're gonna sink, when in actuality the human body is designed to use breath and coordination to stay afloat, and that's it.
I've been aware of an energy or an entity named GJI since we started, and I know it's taboo, but I had to look him up. His name is Ji Ling, and he's a Chinese deity, and the belief system is that of many things, he could capture spirits, hold them in chambers, actually. And I just feel like, first of all, it applies to a lot of the things that have been said. And I think it points to a little bit different way of thinking about these things that we say we want to release. And rather than looking at it like we want to release them, perhaps we look at it like we want to welcome them, like we want to bring them into our experience rather than push them out of our experience, and breathe with them and feel them fully, and then allow them to infiltrate our being and become part of us and make us wholer, because we've shown light upon them and welcomed them into the light rather than pushed them down into the darkness. So that instead of letting go of them, we welcome them. They are us. They are a part of us. And it's like holding in our own chamber all of the parts of us that hurt and that love and that experience pleasure and experience pain in this chamber of humanity. And to do so frees us from the belief that these parts are bad, that we need to lose them, and reminds us that actually they are the thing that make us us. And it feels like his energy is very, very present and holding all of us in his chamber, actually, as we experience. And that's all I have.
That's a really lovely reminder. I feel like it what you said is like the explanation of what I've been seeing. I saw at first I could hear the baby, and I saw a like brown kind of like cowboy boot, but it was suede, like something on the song, and it was George Harrison with the baby, and he was wearing this really wide brimmed black hat with a like woven sort of Navajo band on it. And he was like going from one song, which was Blackbird, Blackbird singing in the dead of night. And then all of a sudden I heard the harmonica and the banjo come in, and I was hearing like the Rocky Raccoon song. And it was like trying to find the right song to help the baby. So he goes into this big vintage, huge, like kind of cupboard, and he opens it and he takes a bottle out, and the bottle's a vintage baby bottle, and he tests it on his wrist, and it was too hot, so it left like a burn mark. And he's like basically saying to me, he's like, it's okay, man, because now I know that the bottle's too hot for the baby, like he wasn't like concerned that he got burned. He's like, it's gonna pass, it'll heal. And then he goes into the cupboard again and pulls this sort of like, it's a mortar and pestle, and it's a bunch of like ground up stuff that's almost like an aloe slaw with like a bunch of like herbs and stuff mixed in it, and he puts it on the burn. And this just felt like a sort of like just kind of embracing everything. Like the different songs, and now we have a blackbird with a white bird, and it's okay to get burnt. It's okay that the water's hot, like it's all part of, like it all makes up us and our stories. And he was kind of like rocking out to his own music, trying to get the baby to calm down. And it wasn't the Blackbird song that calmed the baby, it was the kind of like offbeat one, so yeah, that's all for now.
I have a Frozen song in my head that is called Love is an Open Door. That's all for now.
I'm also seeing, so I can still see George here in my room with a baby, but I was kind of seeing what else is around him. And my dad is here actually, and he's also holding a baby. But it's funny because like he's holding the baby the opposite way as George. I don't know if there's any meaning in that, but yeah, that's all for now.
I had an experience of feeling like I don't want to be here amongst people because everyone's so backwards and using and manipulating. And so I was kind of gnashing kind of experience of like, I don't want to be here, kind of whining like a baby. But then the awareness came of, I felt settled in myself around, but this is the place. It's not that, it's not, this is the nature of the whole place. It's not any one place or one group or one section or one anything. And so I was able to pan out and, remember when I said I wanted to come here to begin with, to the earth, I already knew at that time how backwards this place and time was going to be. And so, it just put me into acceptance. That's all for now.
I have a thing in my head, the goodbye to the past. That's all for now.
Golden, when you were talking, I was seeing this sort of like Old West kind of ghost town, with the tumbleweeds down the street and the boards. And there was like the salon type of doors, but it wasn't like a real town anymore. And there was hitching posts, like where people would tie their horses up. And there was a guy with the same kind of boots that George Harrison had on, but he was like actually a cowboy, not trying to look like a cowboy. Um, and all of a sudden he like puts his like hand out like he was trying to hitchhike. And instead of like a car or a horse pulling up, I see flying really low between the buildings in this ghost town, like a quintessential like UFO ship, that you would see out of the 50s, like the silver ones with the sort of like round shape. And I almost hear that kind of sound that sometimes comes in movies when there's a UFO. And it was like he was hitching a ride on on a UFO. um yeah, that's all for now.
Somebody touched my back. That's all for.
I know I said that was all a second ago about the guy with the UFO, but it wasn't. I'm feeling like I'm getting the strong sensation that, and I don't know if this is for you, Golden, or just kind of a general thing about this guy, but I'm getting that his first life on this planet, his first incarnation on this planet, was in the Wild West, in a town that was kind of like dying out, and the way of life was changing, and that was like the first time he came here. Even though there's been many lives on this earth, it's not like a chronological thing, but like the first experience he had as a human was in the Wild West, and there was just a lot of like lawlessness and drifting, and it just like really sense of like just like wildness of humanity and the starkness of the land, and just like just not the best example of humanity. That's all for now.
This is Golden again. There was another aspect to the earlier share that I forgot, which is it started with sound, and natural sound in me is very angelic oriented, and there's a particular instrument that I want in the 3D that has that sound. I haven't been able to get it, and so the clarity came through on it's because I am supposed to be earthbound. And so then the rest of the share that I gave earlier is what followed after that. And it somehow connects to what I heard from Dana. That's all for now.
So I have with me in my room on my left side and my right two wizards. The one on my left is in white and the one on the right is in black. And they each put in the palm of my hand two small pocket watches. And they said to bring them together to make one. And I said, okay, what do I do with this? And they said, use it for healing. They said, put it on your heart and feel the beating of your heart and sync it with the ticking of the clock. And there's a message here about that ties in with the babies and the rocking is this rhythmic movement. You know, it's almost like that feeling when we were babies and we're being rocked and just held. And I feel like the Mother Earth, or even Mary Magdalene is holding this baby in her arms and just rocking it and just sending this beautiful energy and synchronized movement to not only the earth, but to us as the collective as well. And I feel like this ties in with the sound that you're speaking of as well, because this vibration or movement can also be translated into sound. So I feel like they're saying their message here is not only the movement, but the sound as well. And to synchronize the two in order to really feel and hold this energy in our hearts and in the world. That's all for now.
What's also coming is the words around to be okay with discord, that it's all going to be, everything is going to, the harmony, the sound of harmony is going to come, and the words, everything in its right place will be. So that is there, along with something that was just here and escaped. And maybe it will come back. That's all for now.
This is sort of interesting. I've never had this happen before, but I just keep hearing, I don't know how many X-Files fans we have here, but you know, in the beginning of the show, like the opening credits, they would play that sort of like spooky kind of like music, and then you would see that like UFO picture that says "I want to believe." Like I'm just like hearing that music like over and over on repeat. So I feel like that's like driving something about the sound home. The importance of, you know, the sound, or the sort of connection to sound in this. That's all for now.
Someone put Golden put in the chat here, heart coherence about what I was talking about. And yeah, I just wanted to mention that feels really, really right. And actually reminds me of this doctor. I'm sure a lot of you know that him, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he talks a lot about heart-brain coherence. Um, yeah, I just feel that's really relevant right now. That's all for now.
I just got chills hearing that last share because I personally am assigned to being a bridger, old to new world, and what was just shared appears to be a pathway for the how. And what I just heard in a lecture was how to increase heart coherence is by magnifying 3D experiences of awe, gratitude. There's a long list of things that human can do. So that is personally instructive for me. That's all for now.
That's really beautiful. And as we're talking about the heart chakra, it is the bridge. It's the bridge of the spiritual and the physical world. It ties, the lower three chakras to the higher three. And sometimes this can be very difficult, you know. But yeah, but I like that as the bridge. Thank you for sharing.
I'm was hearing a piano playing, and I'm in this same sort of ghost town, and I see the salon doors that swing, and I go in there, and there's a woman sitting at a piano, and she has like a very like long white dress on, but it has a train that's sort of flowing out back from where she's sitting on the stool playing the piano. And I know that as I walk into this place, I've been there before. It was like a saloon basically. And I know there's rooms upstairs, and I can feel a life connected there. But that's like not really the point of why I'm in there now. It's just she's playing this piano, and it's just this beautiful sort of melancholy, sad piano song. And it making me kind of feel like I want to cry a little bit. But what I'm getting is as she's playing it, there's a feeling of her heart like leaving her body and being actually what is playing through her fingers on the keyboard. There's like this connection between her heart and the just the sadness and the grief and the heaviness in it that's just like allowing her fingers to move over the keyboard, and there's just this connection there. It's as if in this moment of creating this music that that whatever energy is in her heart is leaving and leaving her through her fingers into the keyboard. And there's the black and white, the keyboard, the black with the white, and it seems to be such a kind of a lot of black and white imagery kind of coming up in this journey. But everything she's feeling when she plays the music, just like it's almost like you would think that she feels it more, but it's actually like giving her relief by playing the music. And it's allowing her to like heal and release and be present with how she's feeling, like to really feel it. That's all for now. I'm also getting the feeling of another woman coming in while this woman's playing the piano. And I feel a connection with her, so I feel like I'm playing the piano, but I also don't think she's me. And another woman comes in and she starts singing, and this singing and this releasing of sort of just outlet through the singing of the words, and they're escaping her lips. It's like she's feeling that same sort of release from her heart, but instead of going out through her fingers, it's coming out through her mouth, and through her throat chakra. Um, and I don't know, there's just this, I don't know, this real feeling of something. And almost even know it's, this sort of sadness and grief that's being channeled by both of these women. So like really like they're feeling something. They're like alive in that moment in a way that maybe we're not quite alive when we just listen to music, or we're just I don't know like where I'm going with this exactly, but there's just a feeling of sort of life, even though it just isn't like a quote unquote beautiful moment. It is a beautiful moment, in its sorrow and in its heaviness, and in the sort of heaviness I can feel from the lives that they had there. And it was just this feeling of the body as a instrument of sound, as well. That's all for now.
This came through in a tunnel just before we gathered today. That's all for now.
That was really
Really?
beautiful.
Yeah, really powerful. I can feel the energy in there.
It was interesting because as I listened to it, I could smell lavender, like the smell of lavender out of nowhere. um, Almost like I hit a whole bunch of fresh lavender, just like up against my nose. It was really lovely.
I'm getting the words that we need more singers. Like someone shared in chat that they are a singer, but anybody allowing sound to move through to represent and release in particular, the grief that's being articulated here all across the land as a help. That's all for now.
Something I wanted to share from, I was getting it earlier, is I'm still in this water, in this chamber with Mary Magdalene. And like I said, the water is very hot. But at some point, I took a deep breath in. And as I exhaled, my breath, like when it's cold outside, you can see your breath. But this went further. It actually created like a sheet of glass. And then all of a sudden it shattered and it fell back into the water and it melted. That's all for now.
I'm experiencing this thing that I'll get sometimes when I do, I get it when I do spiritual work, but I also get it too if I have a conversation with someone where, um, it's like a hard conversation, even if I'm not yelling, and I'm not a yeller, so I'm usually not yelling, but I'll feel as if I was yelling, like my throat feels like harsh and it feels like it hurts, like I've been yelling, and I'm feeling that right now. And that feels somehow connected to singing or um the feeling of a sore throat as if the voice has been used too much, too loudly for too long.
I have been as if screaming in the wind to dead ears, and not actually screaming, just being so open and vulnerable and available to just deadness in response. And in this moment, in this gathering, in this portion of this gathering, I feel fullness and fulfillment, even though I'm in the same locality as where everything that I've just described has been happening. So, what's coming is a message around the one that I need to have hear me is myself, is something different than the direction in which I have been articulating. That's all for now.
I have to say again that it's just like so interesting to hear all this talk about singing, because that is also my livelihood. But I've also been thinking a lot about how I've been like singing to like make a quota or like overly commercialize or like trying to like commoditize myself as a singer, which is like important for business reasons, but also um this conversation is making me realize like the importance of making music for like personal fulfillment, and just sharing it with people for yourself. So I've been like listening to myself at like performances where I felt that I wasn't at my best technically, but where I felt like a personal connection. So I'm listening right now to a recording from October that I really like. So yeah, that's all.
As I listen to that, I can literally feel in my chest, in my heart. Like it was as if like a string lifted all the way up. Really, really interesting physical feeling. That's all for now.
I could feel something in my chest as well. It was really beautiful. I also was getting like an imagery of it's almost as if the heart opened up and one side of the heart turned into this like tall, skinny piece of furniture that was like they call them like lingerie chests, but they can be used both for lingerie but for other things. And it's as if these drawers were really like small and it was very petite piece of furniture, but it was very long and the little drawers opened and I don't even know if it was lingerie that was in it, but there were things like laces and velvets and like a brocade Chinese fabric and just all of these like really beautiful textural sort of fabrics that were folded up in it. And that was somehow connected. That was like the hearts. What I heard you singing was what was being activated in the heart. Like it was a connection to the heart sometimes, like these little drawers opening and these little like luxurious pieces of fabric being ready to be unfolded and worn and put on and used instead of being tucked away in a cabinet. That's all for now.
I have a song in my head called X's and O's. That's all for now.
So I just wanted to say something that I was hearing outside. Um, my house is on the road, so I'm always hearing like the cars go by. But as as you were talking, the singer, I forget your name. But so I'm here. I live in Peru, and all of a sudden there was like just cars going by, like nobody. I can't hear anyone on the street, no music, nothing. But all of a sudden, I started to hear these flutes being played. Um, there's these traditional flutes that they play here in Peru, and randomly someone started playing them, and it's gone. I don't hear it anymore. Um, but I just wanted to share that. I always think it's interesting the real life connection to what we journey. Also, really quick, I'm trying to write this down as fast as I can, but I hate saying it. It'll be faster. And then I will write it down. I just got a direct channel message from Spirit that said, "The symphony of the heart is the greatest music you will ever hear."
Gianni, I have this, um, it feels important to tell you that, along with your professional pursuits, I think it's important for you to also privately chant. I don't know if you're familiar with kirtan, but you could look into that and just do that by yourself. It feels important to share that with you. That's all.
That's interesting. So you said like kirtan chant. Is that like a genre of chant? I'm not familiar.
It is a Hindi religious way of devotional prayer. But of course you don't need to be Hindi, and it's universal. And I'll put a couple of I'll spell it, and then I'll put my favorite kirtan artist who has just a really, really beautiful voice, and you could learn from her, and then I'm sure quickly go off on your own.
Sure, thank you.
Actually, I can also share some things as well if you want. My husband is actually a um Vedic Krishna devotee and chants every day. All the mantras, and they are so powerful and so beautiful, and a really great way to connect with your heart. So yeah, thank you. That's all for me.
This is a clarifying piece on what came through earlier from this side, but it adds to what was just said. And the "we need more singers" part was very clearly inside of me, and I didn't name this then. Not for others, not witnessed by others, not recorded even, just the isness of it, just the existence of it, just the doing and feeling of it with oneself and one's relationship with spirit, is the specificity that is seen as being this helpful across the land sort of thing. It is a redirection from the primary modes that many cultures are currently in, of being witnessed and seen and social and all of that. So it's a reversal of that curve, perhaps in addition to formats of being witnessed, but an urgency of desire is around having a human pipe organ, if you will, this expression of the heart, this symphony that was described. That's all for now.
I'm hearing right now this sort of if you listen to a record, when the record reaches the end of the side, the record player does that sort of like weird, like hollow sort of skipping sound. When there's nothing left to play, it's almost like, not screechy, that's not the right word, but that's what I'm hearing right now. It's almost as if like the record has been played. You can almost like see this sort of vintage record player as well.
There's an addendum that's coming through around like a comma to what I had just said, which is for those who are oriented towards the new world. So for those who are, the desire is there to have this kind of mouthpiece and releasing of the opening of the heart. So that is not a message for everyone per se, but those who are assigned in that kind of a role. That's all for now.
The last thing I wanted to say about what I was seeing while I was in this chamber, in this pool, is that throughout the journey, it has gotten increasingly, decreasingly less hot. And now it kind of feels lukewarm. And I'm not as panicked. Like I feel like I can actually breathe normally now. And yeah, it feels very therapeutic. That's all for now.
It almost feels to me with the record coming to an end and the water sort of cooling itself down, I'm feeling a sort of like an end to the energies that were stepping forward, you know, like I feel more present and back in my body. And calmer than I did before the journey.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same. I was gonna say I feel a lot lighter, especially in my chest and yeah, definitely back in my body.
I just feel happier for some reason. That's all.
I'm thinking that unless anyone else has any other messages, I may close the circle.
Got a little bit here, and just at the end here, that we are all who we are, and that's how it's meant to be.
Exactly.
That's a perfect ending.
It is. It's the absolute truth. Okay, well, thank you, Spirit, for all of the messages connected to our heart, for the messages about the symphony of our heart, the chambers of our heart, and for the lovely reminders about the importance of sound and songs and singing and all of the tools we have on this healing journey to use. I'd like to thank the guides that have stepped forward, Mary Magdalene, G, George Harrison, and all others. We thank you for the messages, visions, sounds, and colors. We are eternally grateful and deeply thankful. We ask for your continued guidance in the coming days and weeks as we work to integrate the messages delivered for further awareness and healing. Help us release any energy that is not of our highest and greatest good to carry as we shed what no longer serves us. And may we be refilled with the eternal sacred love of Source. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And with this, the sacred circle is closed.
into